I talked about tips for home sellers, and I want to break down some of these because there are a lot of consumers making mistakes right now with the agent that they hire. One of those is they're going with the cheapest agent. They're going and talking to 2 or 3 agents, and then they're saying, you know what, I'm going to go with the cheap guy. Here's what you get when you go with the cheap guy in real estate. You get somebody that's not a great negotiator. If they can't negotiate their own fee, right? If they've had to discount, then they're going to discount your equity too. How can you trust the negotiating skills of someone that can't even negotiate their own fee when you're talking about your equity, your hard-earned equity? You get what you pay for. Second, the more they cheap out, the less marketing budget that they're going to have. They're not going to be able to have the money to do social media ad campaigns or videos or professional photos. They're going to cut corners on the marketing because their margins are compressed because you wanted to be cheap. You're selling the most expensive thing you're likely ever going to sell. If you're going to be cheap on something, it's not your house, right? There are a lot of inexperienced agents that got into the business the last few years, and I'm seeing a massive amount of homeowners that have lost considerable equity as prices drop in the marketplace because they went with the cheap agent. They thought, oh, well, my equity isn't as good. You know, I don't have as much equity as I thought, so let me try and save some money and go with the cheap agent. And all they did was make their problem worse. And then they rode the market down because not only did they go with the cheap agent, but they didn't listen on price. So don't go to the cheapest agent. You're selling the most expensive thing you're going to sell. You need an experienced negotiator. Experienced negotiators ain't cheap. The best lawyers aren't cheap. The best doctors aren't cheap. The best cars aren't cheap. If you want the best, hit us up. We'd love to help you. DuncanDuo.com. And not just us, but do your homework. If you're working with an agent or a team that doesn't have a lot of business and you're doing it based on purely on price, unfortunately, we are not in the market today where stuff's flying off the shelf, where it's easy to sell a house. It is really, really, really challenging. We're getting contacted daily by home sellers whose homes didn't sell. They're frustrated. They went with the cheap agent. They went with their buddy or their uncle's cousin's friend. The home didn't sell. And now they're desperate because they took it out. They waited too long and they ate up their equity as prices dropped by going with the cheap agent that didn't market their house, couldn't negotiate, wasn't experienced, hasn't done a lot of listings, had never been in a challenged market, and only worked in hot markets. I'm telling you guys, there's so many people making this mistake right now when they're selling their home. Another important tactic when selling your home, again, not just the agent you choose, but the strategy you choose. Pricing your home aggressively has never been more important. I want to reiterate that. Pricing your home aggressively has never been more important. The market isn't great. The economy isn't great. We still have a hangover from a lot of the storm stuff. Our market's been 3 years without appreciation. Frankly, it's been depreciation when you factor in inflation, but it's been pretty flat. It's a really challenging market to sell in when interest rates are high. We're starting to see some relief, but if you have to sell right now, the relief isn't here yet. It's not. The interest rates have not massively dropped. The market hasn't massively improved. It's still very challenging. You've got to hire somebody that's aggressive, that's got experience. Aggressive and experience isn't cheap. Again, if you're going to have a lawsuit and it's going to be the most expensive thing you've ever done or the most amount of money you'd ever get, don't hire the cheap guy. If you're going to go in and get brain surgery, hire the best. Don't hire the cheap guy. There's a lot of people right now hiring the cheap guy, and it is costing them massively. Condition of your home matters. Price matters. When I say aggressive, if you think your home is worth $500,000, you are way better off pricing it at $475,000 than you are at $525,000. At $525,000, people don't want to negotiate. Let me explain this again. People that are buying your home do not want to negotiate. The majority of consumers, if they wanted to negotiate everything, they'd be going to flea markets. How many consumers buy stuff at flea markets? They don't. They buy it on Amazon. They click a button. That's what they want to do with your house. They don't want to have conversations. They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to haggle. They want to purchase. And if your home is overpriced, they're simply going to click next and not buy your house. You have to have your home aggressively priced to get them to engage. And certainly they may negotiate, but the reality is the further away from reality you are on your price, the more likely they are going to click next because you're not rewarding them with the experience that consumers have told us over and over and over again that they want. They want ease, they want convenience, they want to click a button. Your home has to be so aggressively priced that the consumer would be willing to click a button. And the button that they're clicking when you're overpriced is the next button. You've got to price aggressive. You got to price below market with the chance to get at market. You create a bidding war. You create a seller's market for your house. That is working today. If you don't want to price your home like that, and your home isn't some amazing thing that there's no other product like it, your home is going to sit. You've got to be aggressive with your price. If you're not aggressive with your price, you're not going to sell. This isn't the market to test. This isn't the market to try. This isn't the market to hope. If you are going to sell today, you got to be aggressive with your price.